both surprised by the way we looked. The years had changed us too. We smiled and both embraced like old friends often do.
Hello again. Welcome to another episode of Gung Ho. It's January 29, 2020. And today, for me and my guest, it's a really special show. Chris Grillo is here with me. I met him when he was 19. I was 18. And we've been friends ever since, close friends. And he came out to see me. And we have some things in common, and we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. First of all, how did we meet?
Okay. I graduated high school, and I went to night school the first year of college. I didn't go right to day school. So after the first year of night school, I transferred to day school and went out for the wrestling team because I had been a wrestler in high school. And I met you when we were both on a freshman wrestling team at Hofstra.
And I wrestled 130, and you wrestled 137.
137 and 147.
And and then
And the reason why I wrestled 147 is I didn't like to pull weight.
yeah, well, pulling weight means that we would lose weight gradually, and we would pull down maybe 20 pounds sometimes.
Yes, sometimes.
And it was really a difficult thing to do.
I hated it.
We all hated it.
Right. And
Yeah.
so sometimes I'd rather wrestle a higher weight class so I didn't have to not eat.
It was difficult.
Yes.
Plus we're taking a full load of classes, and we're doing this. We're wrestling practice every day, traveling away on wrestling matches, pulling weight. It was really tough.
It was an important life experience. Wrestling is not a beauty sport. It's a gritty sport. You and some other guy pushing and pulling each other around on a mat in a smelly wrestling room. But there was a lot of training and dedication to it, and it taught me a lot that I found useful in later life.
I remember wrestling you during practice. It was pretty.
I would say it was probably intense.
Yes, it was intense.
Yes, I was competitive, and you were competitive, and I'm sure we both wanted to win.
It was.
It wouldn't be any other way.
It was difficult wrestling you. It was all out. All right, so we were on the wrestling team, and then there came a time when someone nominated me for a jock frat called Crown and Lance. Did you nominate me?
I was your roommate, but I did not nominate you, no. Somebody else did. Not that I wouldn't have, but I just didn't. I was the sergeant at arms in the fraternity when you wanted to run for president. So I was already on the board. But
President of the student council, you mean?
No, it's of the fraternity.
No, but I must have lost.
You did. You lost to Frank Gallo.
Oh, my God. All right.
You know, that's what I remember.
Actually, I remember now pledging and you being present.
Yes.
And I thought that you were a pain in the ass, just like all the other brothers.
Yes.
It was
Well,
very difficult.
as a part of what I just told you, so since I already had enough credits from night school to qualify as a second semester freshman, I got admitted to the fraternity in the fall semester. So after I had done all the crazy things we used to do, eating goldfish and so on, when you started to pledge the following spring, I was now a member, and I remembered what people made me do, so yes, and if you may remember it differently, I wouldn't be surprised, but if I was going to look out for anybody, it would have been you and Frank
And Jimmy.
Gallo and Jimmy Papacina, right, my buddies.
I remember the first night of pledging the fraternity, Crown and Lance. I don't know how many nominees there were. It seemed like there was about 20. We were taken to a Quonset hut, and across the way from us, we were lined up, and across the way were like maybe 40 brothers, and the lights went out, and all of a sudden, boom, they rushed us, and they tore all our clothes off.
I think that the routine was tear off everything but your underwear. Your shirt and pants, probably.
I think
I,
they- I
I don't
think-
remember the underwear, but I would think not. But I don't know.
I
don't
think
really
I was
remember.
naked, and
Okay.
I remember someone had a snake, a python. One of
Okay.
the brothers.
John Hiller, maybe.
No, but they,
Okay.
they had a snake, and they made me kiss the snake on the nose, and then they made me lay down nude and put the snake on top of me and just left me there. It was
Mental games.
really
Right. There was a lot of that.
And some of the brothers were really, I thought, sadistic. Like there was a guy by name Devereaux. Remember Devereaux?
I do.
He was
Yes, he was a wrestler
Yes.
from Uniondale, and he seemed to enjoy being a pain.
He seemed to be a masochist. Is that what they call it?
And he was a brother when I pledged, so I know what you mean, because he was tough on everybody, but he got really tough on you guys until you got even with him when you kidnapped him one night.
Oh, we kidnapped him? I don't remember.
You kidnapped him and held him hostage for a little while, but somehow he got away, but then he got really after you after that. So I don't remember what you're thinking of, but if he was tough on you before you kidnapped him, and I don't mean, not a violent thing, but you grabbed him leaving campus, no doubt, and you took him somewhere, wherever you took him, to hold him so he couldn't make you do stuff. And
He got worse?
yeah, well, of course, he got away. And so we heard about the kidnapping because somebody called and said, we got your guy, whatever your spokesman said. And we thought, oh, but they got Devereaux. And a couple hours later, Devereaux called and said, nah, they don't have me. So we all said to ourselves, uh-oh, they're in for it now with Devereaux.
I hated him during that time. I hated him. What else? All right. So, oh boy, that was. And then, for a while, we were roommates in one of the frat houses.
Right, Freeport.
Yeah.
I think maybe when we were in East Meadow, we might have been roommates there.
No, Freeport, that big house,
Right.
nice room.
Right off Merrick Road. And then I think we were roommates at the apartment house, too.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yes. Yes. So anyhow, I fell behind a semester. I graduated in January '66, and in March I volunteered to go into the Marines. And what happened to you?
I worked at the World's Fair in 1963 and 1964, and the World's Fair ran from April to October. So obviously I had to drop out of school because it was a full-time job and there was a lot of overtime. So and I kept getting 1A draft classifications. I'm sorry, 1S, which meant they couldn't take me. So at some point in time, after the World's Fair was done, and I enrolled back in college at Queens College now, because I was living in Queens, the draft board caught up to what I was doing, and I had hitchhiked across the United States a couple of times. It was just a time for me to experience life. Anyway, I was declared to be 1A. I went to Fort Hamilton in September of 1966 for my physical. And, of course, being an ex-wrestler, and I always worked out, I was in good shape. And I looked at all the people in the room, and I said, there's no way I'm not going to pass this physical. I was the most fit guy in the room, 45 or 50 people. And I got drafted, and I went to the Army in December of 1966.
All right. So I volunteered March 15, 1966.
Okay.
And same thing, I went to Fort Hamilton, but when I went down, it seemed like there were a few hundred guys there.
Sure.
There was.
I'm just saying in the room I was in, I think they kept pulling
There
people
was-
out of each room.
yeah.
There was a lot of people there, you're right.
There was a few hundred guys, and my draft board was Great Neck, so there was like 200 or 300 white boys.
I remember it being very racially diverse. There was a lot of Hispanic people, a lot of African American people. a lot of them,
Where was your draft board?
Freeport.
That's why.
Okay. Yeah, Great Neck would have probably a different, population, right. And,
Demographics.
okay. And like I said, it didn't matter about all of that because, you know, when you're in a room naked, when they're doing the physical, you can see who's in shape and who's not. And
Well, you know what happened? So I think 200 or 300 white boys show up because the draft board is Great Neck, and that's Nassau County, I think.
right.
And I think the process took 2 days. There was the physical, and there was also a written test, a very long written test. But at the end of the 2 days, there was about maybe 90 guys left.
See, I don't remember it that way. It might have been different, but I thought it was one day. I remember my father bringing me to the draft board in Freeport about 5:30 in the morning, and I'm saying, I don't want to go. I mean, I don't even believe in Vietnam War, and I don't want to go in the Army, and I want to go back to college. And my father said, you're going to make us proud, son. And he was very proud of me. It was a moment for me and him. He was more eager for me to have this experience than I was. But I came back that night, and he said, what do you think? I said, I'm going in the Army. Just a question of when. I knew I was going to pass the physical. And there might have been a written test, too. I don't remember that part so much. I already had several years of college, so I didn't think I was going to not do well in the mental part.
You know, we were sworn in right there at Fort Hamilton, and they gave us, they took the Marines, put them aside, a group of Marines, or volunteers, gave us some papers. Actually, they were tickets, air tickets. We were going to fly down to South Carolina. That's how we went.
Fort Bragg, you mean, North Carolina?
No, we went down to South Carolina, Paris Island.
Ah, okay.
But we flew down to South Carolina, then we got on a bus and went to Paris Island. But that was it. And I was on my way into the Army, and at the last moment I decided I'll volunteer for the Marines. And there it is.
There it is. Life began that way.
All right.
So after you had gotten into the Marine Corps, and you were going to OCS, and maybe by the time I went in, December '66, we had still been in OCS?
I graduated OCS in the middle of December.
Okay, because
66.
I remember you telling me, if they're going to offer you OCS, take it. And another good friend of mine, Terry Heffernan, had volunteered for the Army, and he had gone to jump school, and he wanted to be a helicopter pilot, and he went to OCS. He said, if they ask you if you want to go to OCS, take it. So I had that in the back of my mind when I reported for military duty at Fort Jackson, December 5th, I want to say, of 1966. They put us in a bus. Army guys didn't take the plane. I don't think we might have. I don't remember. When we went to Fort Jackson in Columbia, South Carolina, and there you go through several days of testing and the physical stuff as well. And during that time, they asked me if I wanted to go to OCS. And based on what my two good friends had told me, I said yes. So then I went there, and I went into basic training. And for some strange reason that year, basic training took us several weeks, and then they sent us all home for Christmas. The whole fort shut down for Christmas.
But you weren't in OCS at that point.
No, I was signed up for it.
They let you go home.
They sent everybody home.
God.
So we went home for 2 or 3 weeks, and then we reported back for the continuation of basic training. And while I was home, I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I thought about it. And it occurred to me that if I had gone into OCS, I probably would have completed it. I didn't think there was a problem with that, but I thought that they would send me to the infantry. And
They would.
And I thought about whether I wanted to be a leader of men in the infantry, and I'd be telling these young men, 17, 18, 19 years old, with maybe a high school diploma, not particularly good fitness levels, into combat. And it was very troubling for me at the time. Did I really want to do that? So I think about the week before graduation of basic training, I went to see a colonel, a bird colonel, not a lieutenant colonel. And, you know, all the things on his chest. He was a very impressive war hero. And he asked me what I wanted, and I told him I didn't want to go into OCS. And it was a intimidating moment for me, because this guy was legitimately a war hero, no doubt.
Did you explain to him the same reasons that you just said?
I said, he said, aren't you proud to be American? I said, of course I am. I said, but I don't believe in this war, and I don't know that I want to, if I have the leadership skills that the Army thinks I have, I don't want to lead men into combat and into a fight I don't believe in. And anything that happened to any of my men would affect me forever. I don't think I can do it. I don't want to do it. And he tried to talk me into it, and we talked probably for an hour and a half. He gave me a lot of time. He didn't want to hear what I had to say, but he treated me respectfully, and he reluctantly let me withdraw from OCS, and I did. And so then I went to advanced training. After you finish basic in the Army, you go to advanced training for determine your military occupation specialty, your MOS. So there's truck driver school, there's cook school.
Turn
okay.
around
There's,
towards me a little bit more.
Okay, there's every kind of school where they teach them the Army way of doing things. So I got sent to personnel specialist school to become a clerk, you know, where they teach you typing and how to fill out forms and stuff like that. Very fundamental, rudimentary stuff. And after that, I was assigned to Fort Jackson permanently after I got out of advanced school. And sometime during late summer of 1967, I got orders to go to Vietnam. I had mixed feelings about that. Somehow they were withdrawn. Next month, I got orders to go to Korea, and I went to Korea, and I spent almost a year in Korea before I got discharged.
Well, I think what you did was pretty incredible. Going to see the CO and telling them that. You could have very well been put in the infantry as an enlisted man and been sent to Vietnam anyhow. There's one other thing, though, that people don't know, that if in the Marine Corps, I think the same thing in the Army, your commitment, if you become an officer, is 3 years. It starts, so if you've already gone through all the basic training and advanced training, and then you get accepted to OCS, you got to go through their basic, and then you got to go on after that. And so the 3 years starts after your
Yes.
commission. So
And I didn't want to do that either. I knew I had to serve, and I did, reluctantly. I'm certainly no hero, and I didn't want to do an extra minute. But it was the leadership thing that really bothered. And yes, they could have sent me to Vietnam as a grunt, you know, with a rifle. And it was just a decision of conscience you have to make sometimes in life. And I thought I did the right thing. I still think about it all the time, whether I did the right thing or not. I don't know. But I'm here.
well,
And a lot of people didn't make it through
I'll
Vietnam.
tell you, and what I know, you would have been a really good officer because you cared about the men. And that's basically what it came down to, because a lot of us, when we got over there, although we never said anything, we realized that it was a lie. There was a civil war going on,
Right.
and we just made it worse, and we're probably on the wrong side, and you couldn't say anything. You couldn't tell people that, you know, this is all a lie, this is all bullshit. You just did what you were told, you know, almost all the time. You just did it, no questions, no complaints.
The
well,
military,
but-
Army, Marine Corps is all about following orders.
Yeah,
There's
but
no
the thing is-
discussion about what to do.
But then the mission became, fuck this war. I got to keep these guys alive.
Right.
That's what it, so, you know, having an officer like smart guys use their head, there's a good chance they might keep some more men alive that will get killed doing stupid
Joe,
things.
let me say this to you. Having done what you did, become an officer and leading men in combat, and you know you had to lose some men, and a part of that is always going to be with you. We both know that. There's no way that you'll forget that, whoever they were, whenever it happened. When you have the responsibility looking out for people,
It
and
was
something
heavy.
happens to them,
Yeah.
you have to, that's going to affect you, right?
It did. It was the stress level of doing that, because in the back of my mind or in the front of my mind all the time was I didn't want to make a mistake and get my Marines killed unnecessarily. I knew they were going to get killed. I had to do it, you know.
Right.
Even
That's what the job was.
yeah, that was it. They're going to get killed. Some of them are going to get killed, but I don't want to make a mistake that gets them killed. That's the whole thing. That's really
Keeps you awake at night, doesn't it? And I think about Terry, our buddy from Hofstra, and he became an officer, ultimately a captain, but he was a helicopter pilot, so he didn't really put a couple of men on the crew on the helicopters he flew. He didn't have, and he was initially flying medevac helicopters where he'd have a gunner, maybe a co-pilot, and maybe one other person. They'd fly in, pick up the wounded, and take them out. So whatever danger he exposed them to, he was in charge of, because he flew the helicopter, and if he did something improperly, it would get him too. And but he was not an officer like a platoon leader is, like you were. It's a different kind of relationship. So and he was a good leader as well and cared about people, but he didn't have the same level of responsibility that you would have had.
But being a medevac pilot, he saw the horror up close. I mean, he put, we were wrapping people up in ponchos that were dead, and we were putting Marines on choppers, and they were really, some of them were blown apart and they were still living. So he saw all of that. That has a horrible. You never forget that stuff.
Well, you're right, because he came home from his first year in Vietnam for 30 days leave, and I think we stayed drunk in Manhattan for 30 days, and he went back to fly Cobra gunships, which is a different type of assignment. Now you're not medevacing people, now you're shooting people that might attack the medevac people, and he enjoyed that more. I think he felt like he was more an offensive weapon rather than vulnerable when you're flying the medevacs. But he went back for a second tour. And I think that changed his life because, as you know, he ultimately came back to America, stayed here for a while, and wound up moving to Thailand, and he lived in Thailand for 25 or 30 years.
Is he still alive?
He passed away last year.
I remember meeting him with you after he served.
He was at my daughter's wedding as well.
Yeah.
He showed up for a little bit.
Oh, he was there. Wow. But I thought something was wrong with,
Yes, he looked like he had lost. Terry was a chunky, heavy-set guy. He lost a lot of weight. Because Terry had been a lifeguard at Jones Beach. He was a very healthy, fit guy.
I thought something was wrong.
Well, he did 2 tours in Vietnam, Joe. You tell me.
I'll tell you this. They couldn't get me to go back. I got out of the Marine Corps. I wouldn't go back. That's how I felt about it.
Well, that month that we were running around Manhattan, he had a Beretta he carried. And I kept saying, why do we need a Beretta? We're in Manhattan. We're not going to have any kind of problem that we need a Beretta to solve. And he said, I've been carrying a Beretta since I went to Vietnam. It's my weapon. I think he flew back and forth from Vietnam with his Beretta. And he went back to fly the Cobra gunships with his Beretta. Think about how loose security was back at that time. But, he was a captain in the Army. Nobody was going to question him.
We only have less than 2 minutes to go, 3 minutes. We're going to keep going. We're going to stop and then continue.
Okay.
But when I was in Nam, your mom was my supply line. I swear. She was sending me packages all the time, your mom.
Yes.
And when I came home, she was one of the first persons I went to visit. I went, my mom first, Annette, my mom, my dad, and my sister on my way to see Annette, and then I went to see your mom.
Well, my mom sent me care packages too. And of course she would tell me in the letters that she sent them to you. And my brother John, my youngest brother, he remembers my mother sending him out to get things for our care package. She sent them to Terry too. And there was one other person she sent them to. But yeah, that was my mother.
Also, not too long ago, your brother John gave me letters that I wrote to him. Not too long ago, I tried to find them. I couldn't find them. I didn't have any writing paper. I was writing on communication, little pads.
Okay.
I wrote him some letters,
Okay.
and he returned them to me.
He kept them all those years, huh?
Yeah.
And he told me about that, and he said, "What do you think?" I said, "Look, I would think, send them to Joe. He'll know what to do with them."
That was the right thing to do.
Sure, and but it was obviously very heartfelt for him that he would keep something like that, because there's no doubt in his mind you're one of his heroes.
Didn't even have writing paper. All right. We're coming to the end. We're going to keep going. We'll pick up, I think it's very interesting. It's going to get more interesting when we talk about how we both wound up being attorneys.
Are we still on the air now? Because I could tell you.
We got like 30 seconds to go.
Okay, well, we can let it run then, but I can tell you why and how I did it. It was because of you.
I didn't know that.
Okay, I'll tell you how.
Oh my God. Well, I'm glad you came out.
It's always a pleasure to see you, Joe.
It's like we've never been apart. It's crazy.
Well, I don't know about other people and their relationships, but you and I have been friends for a long time. And you looked out for me as I looked out for you.
Oh, I can tell you.
And my family looked out for you as your family looked out for me.
Yeah, all right.
I have good memories of your mom and your dad.
That's
I'm
it.
just telling you.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised.
Yeah.